Imagine a single image of an ancient Egyptian queen reconstructed from her mummified remains explodes across social media. But instead of awe at her resurrected face, the internet erupts in fury. Accusations fly, whitewashing, scream some black erasure, shout others. Hashtags like #Black Egypt and #Eurocentric Lees trend for days, with celebrities, historians, and armchair experts clashing in viral threads. Why? Because this isn't just about Queen Tiye. It's a proxy war for modern racial identity, where ancient history becomes ammunition in today's culture battles. Take the 2023 reconstruction by scientists at the University of Basel and artist Cicero Moraes. They unveiled Queen Tiye with olive skin, high cheekbones, and full lips, features that could fit multiple ethnicities. Immediately, Afrocentric voices claimed it downplayed her African roots, pointing to ancient busts showing darker hues. Eurocentric skeptics dismissed any sub-Saharan connections, insisting Egypt was always Mediterranean. Even Netflix's Cleopatra series fueled the fire, with Egyptian officials suing over her portrayal as black, arguing it ignored historical evidence. This debate rages because Egypt, as the cradle of civilization, is claimed by all sides. Afrocentrists see it as proof of black genius stolen by colonialism, while others tie it to Near Eastern or even European influences. But here's the controversy's core. Were ancient Egyptians black? The term itself is modern, born from 19th century racial pseudoscience. Scholars like Cheikh Anta Diop argued Egypt was fundamentally black African, influencing Greece and Rome. Critics counter with DNA studies showing closer ties to Levantine populations. A 2017 Nature study of 90 mummies revealed ancient Egyptians had more Anatolian and European ancestry than modern ones, with sub-Saharan genes increasing post-Roman era. Yet, a 2023 Abusir El-Malek study suggested northern Egyptians were lighter, southern darker due to Nubian blends. Mass migration theories debunked Egypt evolved gradually, absorbing neighbors without wholesale replacement. The real spark? Colonialism's legacy. European scholars like Champollion decoded hieroglyphs but framed Egypt as not truly African to justify imperialism. Hegel called Africa unhistorical, excluding Egypt. Afrocentrism pushed back, with figures like Martin Bernal's Black Athena claiming Greek culture derived from Egypt's black roots. Today, it's amplified by social media X posts with millions of views, debate Tiye's true color, some editing reconstructions, darker or lighter to fit narratives. And the danger? Applying 21st century race labels distorts a 3,000-year-old world. Egyptians didn't categorize by black or white, their art used symbolic colors: red for men, vitality; yellow for women, fertility. Foreigners were stereotyped Nubians, black and curly-haired, Asiatics, pale and bearded, but Egyptians saw themselves as a cultural unity, not racial. This anachronism fuels division. One side accuses the other of racism, the other of revisionism. In Egypt today, many identify as Arab African, rejecting both extremes. Yet, the argument persists because Egypt symbolizes power. For marginalized groups, claiming it restores dignity. For others, it's about preserving Western heritage. But what if the truth is messier? Egypt was diverse northern delta folks, lighter from Mediterranean trade, southerners darker from Nubian ties. No uniform race, just a gradient shaped by the Nile. This controversy isn't fading, it's evolving with AI reconstructions and genetic tech. A 2024 AI-enhanced Tiye image went viral, blending mummy data with artistic choices, only to be called biased by all sides. Why care? Because it exposes how we reshape history to fit our biases, turning queens into battlegrounds. Now, let's pull back. This storm started with one image, the modern face reconstruction of Queen Tiye. It appeared on screens worldwide, provoking reactions that reveal more about us than her. The debate isn't about an ancient queen, it's a mirror to our divisions. History didn't vanish, it was reshaped by agendas, from colonial erasure to modern reclamation. To dive deeper into this saga, uncovering Queen Tiye's real story, the science behind her face, and why ancient Egypt defies our simple labels. Queen Tiye, the woman behind the face? Amid the racial firestorm, who was the real Queen Tiye? Not a symbol, but a flesh and blood powerhouse who bent one of history's greatest empires to her will. Born around 1398 BCE in the bustling town of Akhmim in Upper Egypt, Tiye came from non-royal stock, a rarity for pharaoh's wives. Her father, Yuya, was a high-ranking military officer and advisor, possibly of Mitannian descent, with titles like Master of the Horse, suggesting foreign expertise in chariotry. Her mother, Thuya, served as a priestess and overseer of royal linens, holding sway in Thebes' elite circles. DNA analysis of their mummies hints at mixed ancestry. Yuya's features suggest Levantine influences, blending with local Egyptian traits. At just 11 or 12, Tiye married the teenage Amenhotep III, ascending to great royal wife in a match that shocked traditionalists. Why her? Some speculate political alliances, Yuya's wealth, and military clout stabilized the throne, but letters from the Amarna archive reveal a genuine bond. Amenhotep, ruling from 1388 to 1351 BCE, during Egypt's 18th dynasty peak, called her the wife whom the king loves. Tiye's influence was unprecedented. Unlike previous queens, she appeared in colossal statues, equal in size to her husband, symbolizing partnership. At Soleb Temple in Nubia, she's depicted as a sphinx trampling enemies, a role usually reserved for pharaohs. She managed vast estates, including vineyards and farms, amassing personal wealth. Diplomatically, she's shown foreign rulers like the Babylonian king addressed her directly, sending gifts of gold and lapis lazuli to curry favor. Her family legacy? Monumental. Mother to at least 6 children, including Thutmose, crown prince who died young, Akhenaten, the revolutionary pharaoh, and daughters like Sidamun and Henateneb. DNA confirms she's the grandmother of Tutankhamun through an unidentified daughter known as the Younger Lady Mummy. Tiye outlived Amenhotep by at least a decade, advising Akhenaten during his heretical shift to Aten worship. She resided in Akhetaten, modern Amarna, where her sunshade chapels honored her as a goddess-like figure. Her mummy, discovered in 1,898 inches KV35, tells a poignant tale. Dubbed the Elder Lady, she's a petite woman, about 4'9", with long auburn hair, streaked gray, arthritic knees, and missing teeth. Signs of a life of luxury but hardship. 2010 genetic tests by Zahi Hawass's team linked her to Tut, revealing clubfoot in the family line, possibly from inbreeding. Why does she matter? Tiye shattered glass ceilings, wielding power in a male-dominated world. Her story challenges racial pigeonholing. She embodied Egypt's diversity with possible foreign roots, yet fully Egyptian in identity. In art, she's shown with varying skin tones, from reddish brown to golden, emphasizing symbolism over literalism. Tiye's death around 1338 BCE marked an era's end, but her influence echoed through Akhenaten's reforms and Tut's restoration. She's not just a face in a debate. She's the architect of dynasty-defining change. What a face reconstruction can and cannot tell us, fueling the controversy, are these forensic reconstructions, scientific marvels, or biased art? Let's dissect how they're made and their limits. It begins with the skull. High-resolution CT scans of Tiye's mummy create a 3D digital model measuring landmarks like orbital width, and quote, nasal aperture, nose breadth, and prognathism, jaw projection. These metrics hint at ancestry. Broader noses often correlate with tropical adaptations, narrower with cooler climates. Next, tissue depth markers. Pegs, placed at 21 to 30 points based on averages from modern populations, for example, African, European, Asian databases. Muscles are layered using anatomy software like ZBrush, followed by fat, skin, and features. Hair? Guessed from mummy evidence, Tiye's locks were wavy, henna-dyed reddish. Reconstructions vary wildly. A 2003 version by French artist Elisabeth Daines showed darker skin aligning with Nubian influences. The 2023 Moraes one opted for medium olive, drawing ire for Europeanizing her. Why? Artists choose skin tone subjectively, often referencing ancient art or genetics. But bones don't dictate color. Melanin levels, eye hue, hair texture, lost to time unless DNA preserves them. Tiye's genome, partially sequenced, shows haplogroup K common in Near East Europe, maternally, but paternal lines tied to African roots. A 2022 study using sediment tools predicted fair to intermediate skin for some royals, but samples degrade, limiting accuracy. Limits abound. Reconstructions assume average builds, ignoring lifestyle Tiye's obesity from palace feasts. They're probabilistic, 80-90% accurate for recognition per studies, but subjective elements like expression bias viewers. In controversies, they're weapons. Critics argue Western scientists default to lighter tones, ignoring Egypt's African context. Yet, science aims for neutrality. Tools like Cranid analyze skull metrics against global databases, placing Egyptians between sub-Saharan and Mediterranean groups. Ultimately, reconstructions offer glimpses, not truths. They humanize Tiye, showing a wise, aged face, but can't settle racial debates. That's for broader evidence, art, texts, genes. The myth of a racially uniform Egypt? Central to the controversy is the myth that Egypt was racially monolithic, one people, one shade. Reality? A vibrant mosaic shaped by geography and history. The Nile Valley spanned climates. Lower Egypt's delta, open to Mediterranean winds, fostered lighter complexions through trade with Crete, Canaan, Libya. Upper Egypt, hotter and Nubia adjacent, saw darker tones. Nubia itself, modern Sudan, wasn't other. Egyptians called it Tasseti, land of the bow, conquering it for resources but intermarrying. Power shifts didn't erase populations. The Old Kingdom, 2686 to 2181 BCE, unified North and South without invasion myths. The Hyksos invasion, 1650 BCE, more migration. They adopted Egyptian ways, blending in. Assyrian, Persian occupations added layers, but core stock remained Nile indigenous. Mummies illustrate diversity. Ramses II's red hair, possibly dyed. Nefertiti's sculpted beauty blending features. A 2020 paleogenetic review of 100 plus samples shows northern Egyptians 6-15% sub-Saharan ancestry, southern up to 20%, increasing over time. Art debunks uniformity. Tomb paintings depict Egyptians in idealized red, yellow, but real variations peek through darker southern workers, paler northern elites. No pure race. Egypt thrived on hybridity, absorbing Nubian archers, Levantine craftsmen. This myth stems from 19th century race science, like Petrie's dynastic race theory, crediting Mesopotamian invaders for civilization. Debunked by modern archaeology, Egypt's roots trace to Naqada culture, indigenous African. What scholars actually agree on. Beyond controversy, experts unite. Egyptians were diverse, indigenous Africans with regional variations. Consensus from bodies like UNESCO's 1974 Cairo Symposium, peopled from Sahara migrations, differentiating into lighter, northern, darker, southern groups. No homogeneous race gradients, not borders. DNA continuity. A 2017 Schunemann study links ancients more to Bronze Age Levantines than modern Egyptians, who gained 8% more sub-Saharan ancestry via slave trade. But no mass replacement, gradual admixture. Scholars reject binaries. Egypt was biogeographically African per Keita with Mediterranean ties. Mass theories like Black Egyptian or White Invader fail against evidence. How ancient Egyptians saw themselves. Egyptians defined identity by Ma'at, harmony with culture, not color. They were KMT, Blackland people, contrasting red desert foreigners. Identity, speaking Egyptian, worshipping gods like Amun, living by the Nile. Art's colors? Metaphorical black for fertility, Nile silt, not literal skin. Texts like the Instruction of Merakere group humanity by language, not race. Assimilation was key. Nubian pharaohs like Taharka ruled as Egyptians, adopting customs. No racial hierarchy superiority was cultural. Why this argument never goes away. We began with an image that broke the internet. A reconstructed face, Queen Tiye staring across millennia, sparking arguments, dividing people, becoming a symbol in modern culture wars. What does her face really show us? Not what most people are arguing about. Her face doesn't prove ancient Egyptians were black. It doesn't prove they weren't. It doesn't settle modern debates about racial identity because those debates are asking questions that have no meaningful answers. What Queen Tiye's face shows us, if we're willing to see it, is the distance between her world and ours. She lived in a civilization where identity was constructed differently than it is today, where cultural belonging mattered more than physical appearance, where being Egyptian was about language, religion, custom, and living in Kemet under Pharaoh's rule. Modern racial categories would have been incomprehensible to her. The questions we're asking about her race would have seemed strange, perhaps meaningless. This doesn't mean she was colorblind or that ancient Egypt was some kind of post-racial utopia. The Egyptians had their own prejudices, their own hierarchies, their own ways of creating in-groups and out-groups. But they didn't think about human difference the way we do. They had different categories, different assumptions, different ways of organizing the world. When we look at Queen Tiye's reconstructed face and immediately ask whether she was black or white, we're revealing our own preoccupations, not discovering ancient truths. We're showing that we can't see ancient Egypt except through modern lenses. We're demonstrating that we need history to validate contemporary identities more than we want to understand the past on its own terms. Queen Tiye's face also shows us the power and limitations of science. Forensic reconstruction can give us bone structure. Genetics can tell us about population, movements, and mixing. Chemical analysis can reveal diet and lifestyle. All of this is valuable. All of it helps us know things about the past that we couldn't know otherwise. But science can't give us the lived experience of being Queen Tiye. It can't tell us what she thought, what she valued, how she saw herself. It can reconstruct her face, but not her mind. It can analyze her bones, but not her soul. It can trace her ancestry, but not her identity. The face staring at us from the reconstruction is simultaneously real and imaginary. Real bone structure, imagined features. Real person, imagined appearance. It's a reminder of both how much we can know about the past and how much remains forever beyond our reach. Most importantly, Queen Tiye's face shows us what we lose when we let modern politics consume ancient history. Look at how little the popular debates about her reconstruction mention her actual achievements. How rarely they discuss her rise to power, her political influence, her extraordinary family. How often they reduce her to a racial category, a skin tone, a symbol in someone else's argument. This brilliant political operator who shaped an empire is reduced to evidence in a modern culture war. This powerful woman who outlived her husband and influenced her son is turned into a talking point about race. She deserves so much better. All of ancient Egypt deserves better. These were real people who lived full, complex lives in a fascinating civilization. Thank you for watching this historical overview. Subscribe for more interesting facts about ancient history and share your thoughts in the comments. Which aspect of this debate about Queen Tiye interests you most?